shoots the free throw and he misses. He shoots the three-pointer and he also misses. He gets injured. He's out for the rest of the season. You put a $1,000 bet on this guy to be successful, and you've just lost all your money, only to find out that there has been an elaborate and technologically advanced scheme involving current and former NBA players and staff and the Italian mafia to rig games for the advantage of those whom are doing the rigging. More on this within this episode of Irrespective. Welcome each and every one of you to this new episode. We are so glad that you are joining us.
Hello?
And someone is receiving a call.
Yeah, I'd like to put down 100 that more NBA players and officials will be named on the. We're on the air.
I agree. This is just, some have said, the tip of the proverbial iceberg. I'd like to mention something that we were talking about this topic before the transmission started. And this is how this typically works in the world of law enforcement and prosecutions and the court system. The U.S. government probably hasn't arrested more persons because there are individuals who are doing the songbird dance, as it is known in criminal circles. What kind of a plea deal will you give me?
Of that dance and that song was John McCain.
John McCain, correct.
The illustrious John McCain.
Right. Well, illustrious according to the popular narrative, but the truth bears a different testimony.
Well, that's what his family wants you to believe, that he has an illustrious legacy and career that led to that legacy.
Right.
Look, folks, you have to ask yourselves, what are the things that are popular, trending, and then look inside them? What do you mean? Well, I have stats, I don't think time will allow me to share these, that prove that people are now into tattoos. Why? Why are we into tattoos? Well, it'll probably be a trend and then it will go away. Maybe, maybe not. And the other thing that is very popular is actually 4 or 5. LGBTQ activism is up. Socialism activism is up. But the one that is definitely up is gambling and betting.
Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, why? Who's behind this? Pop culture every now and then has a grassroots movement to it. But on many occasions,
Probably the vast majority.
but on occasions, Gio, there are people creating
Correct.
the current, the wave. And I believe with gambling,
For the sake of mucho dinero.
and you will find gamblers, they will tell you, well, now when I watch a football game, a basketball game, a baseball game, it's more exciting because I have money on it. So maybe the leagues, especially those that have failing numbers, they'll listen to that and they'll say, yeah, we can be like secret partners in these things. And so once again, I'll say it one more time, when certain things become popular, you need to ask yourself, why? Why are they popular? And for the Christian community, not only do you need to investigate these things, you need to be careful because some of these things that are happening, they're against God's will.
Absolutely. We're not going to get into all of the particulars. I think most of you are pretty familiar at this point. It's been about 2.5 days, 3 days since the news broke, and most everybody is familiar with the details, so we won't bother revisiting those. What we are going to do is that we are going to revisit and comments made by popular sports broadcasters and commentators and others over the matter, which has led to some, as the British would say, controversy. Right. And we wanted to give our thoughts on the matter because there's been a lot said, an awful lot of deflection from the main culprits in all of this. Because let's face it, when the average American watches or pays to attend a professional basketball game, a professional hockey game, what have you, you're there for the entertainment aspect of it. I understand it. There's many folks who would take that above and beyond that. This is a reason why they call them fanatics, even though that term in previous generations had a rightly pejorative inclination, meaning a fanatic is a person whom can't see objectively, but the fanaticism over their support of that team blinds them to all objective reality. But that has shifted now to a person whom vigorously supports a team no matter what. I prefer the older definition because I think it's more apt and adequate to describe fanatics of professional sports in general. But that leads into generally what ends up happening in gambling, where some will call it an addiction. We'll have more to say on that shortly because we do have a clip that we'd like to play for the audience of one of these commentators that we're going to profile on this edition, who tries to brush under the rug the intentionality, the evil intentionality behind those whom are participants in this scheme and all of that. They have an uncontrollable urge and we have to sympathize with them in that.
Well, Michael Franzese, or Franzese, I don't know how he pronounces that. He's the ex-Colombo crime family member from New York City. He says that in the case of athletes, it's an extension of their competitiveness. This is a guy who, when he was doing his racketeering, he had 12 bookies working for him. And he doesn't get into all the details. And by this, I mean, he doesn't give the names, but he was tapping major sports.
Right.
And some of the athletes in major sports. And after he was close to being done with his jail time, he said the NBA contacted him, and he's done work for the NBA, MLB, and for over 300 universities in counseling the players on how to avoid gambling. And if they have issues, they should reach out to him. Furthermore, in his latest webcast, he says that after he's done with his presentation, he tells the young man at the universities, I don't work for the college, I don't work for the NBA, I don't work for MLB. So if you are struggling with this, send me an email. And says by the time he gets back to his hotel or his hotel room, he's got a lot of emails because athletes are involved in this.
It's a criminal enterprise, whichever way you look at it, involving multiple parties here. But there is one culprit that generally doesn't get spoken about here, and it's the gamblers themselves. We're talking about from the public. And I know the tendency is, rightfully so, to point out the evil that Chauncey Billups engaged in, the evil that the mafia engaged in, et cetera, et cetera. But there is, in a sense, and this needs to be brought forth, if there wasn't a demand for this sort of thing, then these sort of industries would not exist. I know some of you will criticize me because I've said what some of you might interpret as the opposite with respect to prostitution and drugs and whatnot. I still stand by those statements, and I stand by this because I am not liberating from responsibility those whom are engaging in the criminal enterprise. But there's an old saying, he who holds the legs of the cow is just as guilty as the one that, as it were, slashes the cow's neck.
Well, Charles Barkley calls these individuals involved in the NBA gambling allegations fools, idiots, stupid. And then he says, but I like to gamble.
And the stories are pretty credible, by the way, things that he himself has confirmed where he's lost tens of millions of dollars in gambling.
Well, here's the thing. The mafioso says this. Once you are losing a lot of money in the, let's say, legal side of the ledger of gambling, then you go to the underground, and this is where you take the hit. So if you call gamblers that risk their careers, their salaries, like these clowns from the NBA, stupid, morons, idiots, and then you go, but I like to gamble, just because you're trying to convince us now that you only stay on the legalized side of it, I think you're making a fool out of yourself. And this is, of course, referring to Charles Barkley.
Yes, before we continue to get in the weeds on this, let's go to the first controversial take that a lot of people, rightfully so, were condemning this popular commentator on ESPN when the news broke on Thursday, if my mind doesn't fail me. And we're talking about Stephen A. Smith on the program First Take. This is what he had to say.
We know what world that I live in terms of politics. How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. I'm going to say it on national television again. Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you hearing ICE is going to be there, looking to engage in mass deportations. The Super Bowl, disrupting things. Big night for the NBA. Wembanyama.
I need to stop, because the more this guy talks, the more of an aneurysm that I get. He presents himself as someone whom thoroughly thinks about things before he says them. He's an opportunist, is what he is. First and foremost, he's presenting, if it is going to be true that ICE is going to be present at the Super Bowl to arrest illegals, as if that disruption is a bad thing. This president, even though he has many faults, he did say that he was going to promote law and order and arrest illegals. That was part of his campaign promise. People voted him for that. A person like Stephen A. Smith loves to talk about democracy, but when democracy doesn't favor their positions, then damned be democracy. And then he'll use pejoratives to denounce that. That's the first level of this. The second level of this, notice that, and this is the element that some of you will get angry at me with saying, but it needs to be said because many people are thinking it, they're just afraid of expressing it. There's a level in all of this where we got to protect the brothers. We got to protect the brothers, you know, because...
Is it time for me to break out in song?
Oh, maybe you should.
You'll never find dan, dan, da, da, dan, as long as you live. This is the song the FBI plays on when they pick up the brothers.
Right.
Because the FBI loves picking up the brothers.
I have seen the entire 23-minute clip. I would encourage you, in a sense, to watch the entire 23-minute clip on YouTube, because I wanted to see the entire context. Everybody at that table that is surrounding Stephen A. Smith, they went out to defend the brothers. They all said the following: we can't jump to conclusions. Stephen A. Smith says the same thing. But what does he do about Trump? He jumps to conclusion. Trump is coming.
Well, the investigation started way before Trump.
4 years.
And if you listen to the mafioso, once again, I'll bring...
Who was the head of the FBI when this started? Was it Kash Patel or was it Christopher Wray, the same guy that threw Trump under the bus under Operation Arctic Frost and other things?
And Gio, I apologize for bringing this guy up again, but this is a person who was involved in all of this. He says the major sports have had problems with this forever. Furthermore, in his latest webcast, he says they will continue to have problems with this because it's not going to go away.
It's not.
The mafiosos, the crime families have gotten very sophisticated with this. And here's one more issue that you need to understand as it pertains to Stephen A. It seems like there's a group of people out there, voters out there, that think this clown should be president.
And he is harboring that sentiment and continuing to try to take it to increase his popularity.
And again, as you were saying, he speaks at whatever opportunity is given him, and he'll talk about just anything, like if he was this great thinker. Bring in Sean Hannity, the voice of the conservative group in America, or conservative groups in America. Why does Hannity continuously give this guy a platform?
That's a good question. So we've got a subversive in our midst.
I've told my friends for the longest time, trust on Hannity and you will be sad. At one point or another, he will disappoint you because he bloviates. He brings things to the conversation that you think this guy is the most genuine, conservative talk person out there. Just pay attention to what he does, the little things that he'll do, like his move to Florida. They don't want me in New York. Is it that they don't want you in New York because you stayed around for the longest time and you said it was about the kids? Is it the tax shelter that you get in Florida? Be honest with people and don't do things like bring this guy on and others.
It's giving him a platform.
Others that later on, exactly, we can mention that you go like, really? These people are conservatives? He's giving them a platform.
Absolutely. In the case of Stephen A. Smith here, folks, you've got a guy whom he's trying to keep his street credibility amongst Black Americans by speaking in jive and speaking in slang and whatnot and protecting the brothers. But let me ask you all a question. Do you actually believe that he lives in inner city America? Do you believe that he lives amongst that sort of demographic? No, of course not. He's playing, as it were, as is typical of these presenters, as is typical of these personalities, as is typical of politicians. They're presenting an image which contradicts, and it is a hypocrisy from what they are actually looking to do. Let me say this also. I find it interesting that you've got a guy here whom is pinning the blame on Trump and trying to distance the view of what should be present here. I have to give credit to Jason Whitlock.
Yes.
Jason Whitlock got it right this week. He says what people aren't focusing on, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to get in trouble for it. I think we all know what he meant by that. But he said, the NBA is a criminal enterprise run by the Jewish owners and the Jewish commissioner with the black players who want to be, as it were, gangsta. They want to be gangsta in every single way, shape, or form.
This is a black man
It's a black man
expressing
denouncing.
these things.
Exactly. Folks, let's not forget.
A Christian black man
Correct.
expressing these things. Because some people are listening to you and I today, Gio, and they're going, so what's the Christian angle on this? Why are these two covering these
Well, because
things? Because I mentioned them. Here come these currents. Next thing you know, you're dragged along, whether
Correct.
it's just sharing an opinion or participating in some of these things.
Correct. So you'll notice that he's trying to take away, as it were, Stephen A. Smith and others are trying to take away the eyesight of what can clearly be seen. There's a criminal enterprise going on because of the players, because this is what is typical in black culture. Jason Whitlock mentioned something that I didn't know before. Most people, they swept it underground. There was an individual who had been arrested. His name was Big Mecha. When he was released from prison for the charges were drug smuggling and drug distribution, he created a mafia, the big mafia. I think it's called the BMFs. They've even 50 Cent, if I'm not mistaken, the rapper, he bought the rights to put this guy's story on Showtime, if my mind doesn't fail me. When he was released from prison, LeBron James says of this mafioso, welcome home, brother. Welcome home, Big Mecha. LeBron James, a guy whom, in a sense, tries to portray himself as a family man, and yet here he is glorifying a black mafioso. Because
is this the same guy that called us ignorant for not knowing what is really going on inside China and the NBA connection?
Right.
Is he the one that is trying to educate us? This is the same LeBron James?
That's the same one. That's the same. Listen, nigga. You know what I'm talking about? I know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, that's what ends up happening with these elements. So you're noticing that they're trying to angle themselves, in a sense, to protect the brothers, to protect the demographic that gives him his listenership and his viewership. But there's also another angle to this. Interestingly enough, when ESPN was covering this, all advertisements of ESPN bets were eliminated summarily. The commercials were eliminated because they are a participant in this very culture that now they have to cover, which in a sense also becomes detrimental to them because they're adding on to this very culture of corruption.
Even the commissioner of the NBA knew this was coming down because 2 days before the arrests were distributed, he was on air giving interviews and talking about gambling and gambling issues in the NBA. So he knew this was coming, and maybe this was his way of giving people a heads up. I just hope that they get to the nitty-gritty of this and that a lot of heads roll. Because what happens with all of this is you're going to get a couple of high-name people that will say, if you leave me out of it, I will sing like a canary.
Well, former player Gilbert Arenas, he did a live stream, and he said, I'll sing. If I would have avoided prison time, I would have sung.
And we know how these things go, like Canseco. He took all the manure over himself.
But he turned out to be right.
But he turned out to be right.
Yeah.
About what? You mean to tell me you haven't been living with us for the last 30 or 40 years? Steroids in Major League Sports and then in the MLB. And so he took all the heat, he took all the manure, but he was absolutely right. And I suspect, having heard a couple of experts on the matter, that we're going to get some big names, but some people are going to get away with this stuff.
Yes, because they're going to sing, as it were. Listen to the rest of what he says here.
Put on a show. That is.
By the way, I do have to interrupt this. If Trump manages to take down the NBA, Stephen A. Smith, and all these clowns with the NBA, I will summarily forgive Trump's groveling to Israel. And I think we ought to change the Constitution and make Trump emperor of the United States.
But this is Stephen A. trying to deflect.
Yes.
And maybe stop whatever forces are behind all of this.
Yes.
Because after all, the midterm elections are coming up, and these people play these games.
They do.
They're going to go like, it wouldn't be convenient if now that Trump is pulling in some of the black vote that no other Republican had ever pulled in, it wouldn't be convenient for the Republicans to go after this or too deep after this, because then the brethren might be offended and they won't vote the way that they voted in the last election. So there's a lot of politicking going on behind the scenes here.
Correct.
Because we're talking about this story, okay? Remember, Trump has a long, long history connected to the world of sports because he had those casinos. Where do you think folks were coming after?
I will grant him that point.
Absolutely.
I will grant him that point. But early on, he says, we can't jump to conclusions because we know these brothers. We know them. And we can't jump to conclusions. But he's jumping to conclusions about if Trump ordered the thing, if he was involved in the ordering of this thing, when already the news came out that this investigation started 4 years ago. And you'll notice that he says he's coming next for the WNBA. He's making an assumption. So notice the hypocrisy, notice the contradiction. In one case, as it pertains to the brothers, let's not jump to conclusion, folks, but as it pertains to Trump, a political enemy of his, because he is an admitted Kamala Harris voter, he's an admitted Democrat, he's jumping to conclusions. There's a hypocrisy here, a glaring hypocrisy.
I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the culture. When people want to go to a casino, when people want to gamble, when people want to party, or whatever the case may be, this was his kind of connection to that. Why am I glad you're here, Monica? Because don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list.
Brother Smith, the WNBA is small fry. The WNBA costs the NBA millions upon millions of dollars every single year. Nobody watches that crap. The only reason that anybody watches any WNBA games is because of Caitlin Clark and all the racial things and animus that is brought out because of those interactions. That is also taken front page news, but nobody watches the WNBA.
WNBA has been costly to the American people already. We let out what I believe, and this is what the news sources were saying, was the world's biggest black arms dealer. Dealing in the black market of arms, weapons. We had to give that individual up to get who back?
Brittany Griner.
Brittany Griner. And so we've paid a price already for the WNBA. Yeah. Plus, there's a lot of young ladies who will be mentally damaged perpetually just for watching this stuff.
Correct.
You've got all of these protests that have been going out there and people that have been protesting against him and what have you. This man is coming. He's coming. And I've been saying it for a long time. And to me, this is the latest nugget of evidence that we're talking about right here. That's not to question the legitimacy.
Look, I'm not going to expose you to the rest of the clip. Exposing you to the rest of the clip would be akin to me telling you that you should listen to 10 hours of dissertation directly from Satan himself. You're going to get lost.
But he's saying that the investigation is legit. So if under Trump, it's allowed to proceed, what is his problem?
Right, exactly.
Because later on, he's going to flip it to say, that's all I meant to say, that Trump is going to allow it to proceed. Well, that's what should be done. Because if Trump says, no, put a stop to this. Come on, you're going to hurt one of America's games. What would they say?
Ready?
Trump was corrupt because having all these things ready to be filed and to proceed with, he said, put a stop to it. There's no way that, in his eyes, Smith can be incorrect or Trump be correct.
Ready?
Yes.
Here it is. This is the tweet that came out when people started noticing his contradiction. Quote, nothing to get ahead of here, people. I never denied or failed to mention that this FBI investigation has been going on for years. Watch the clip and see if that's true. I said Trump wasn't inclined to stop it. That's not what he said. When he said Trump is coming, he implied he started this. He wanted this investigation because of revenge.
Doing his impetus is behind it.
He's sparing no one because the man isn't playing. He's coming. In no way am I attempting to even have an opinion on the legitimacy of this matter.
Well, if it's legitimate, you should say it is. And if it's not, you should say, I don't think it's legitimate. But he's saying it is legitimate.
But to your point,
the legitimate thing to do is to fulfill it, go after it.
But here you go. I don't know the facts of this case. So why is he forming an opinion as to whether or not Trump is propelling this or not? Do you see our point, folks, about listening to these popular commentators? It's about positioning for them so that they can continue their influence campaigns and the money that they're making off them. That's all they care about.
Friends, he should know enough, since he's maybe considering being president of the United States of America. He should know that the FBI is very patient. They could work on you for 5, 6, 7, 8 years before they decide to pull the lever on that thing.
Correct.
Why? Because once they reel you in, you're going to do some time, you're going to pay some consequences. That's how meticulous and slow the process with the FBI is, and all these individuals, they know this.
I'd like to, before we play this last clip for our audience, give context for it. And I know you wanted to talk about a few things, because in the context of this interaction between Kenny Smith, Kenny the Jet Smith, as he was known in his playing days for the Houston Rockets, and Charles Barkley, because we wanted to address that point, the immorality of all this. This is very interesting, and I think it'll give us a nice coloring to what we're going to mention.
I've got a lot of stats on how popular wagering, betting, and gambling has become in this country, but obviously we don't have time for all of this. But this is something very interesting, and it comes from the Siena Research Institute at Siena University, February 18th, 2025. So this is recent, Gio. One, a majority of all Americans, 50 to 34, agree that online sports betting should be legal in all 50 states. Keep that in mind. Number two, however, by 65 to 22, they also agree that online sports betting will end up creating compulsive gamblers that will cause pain to themselves and their family. And number three, and by 48 to 35, they think gambling will corrupt organized sports. Now, people want gambling. They want gambling in all 50 states, even though they agree that people are going to get hurt by this. Gamblers will be hurt, and that it will corrupt organized sports.
But then it proves my earlier point, because you've got persons, and I've heard the argumentations consistently. No, the ones to blame here are the drug dealers, because they're the ones providing the product. No, the ones whom are guilty are the ones whom are demanding the product. They're both equally guilty, because they're participating, as it were, in something that damages the individual, damages society. That's what I said earlier. But people nowadays, they have this tendency to just put the blame game, a la Stephen A. Smith and others, the blame game on one group, and in particular, without acknowledging all the participants.
So I'm going to push back a bit, Gio, because there are people out there that understand the human condition. We are fallen beings. And they know that dropping 50 cents on the jukebox will get that thing to play. What am I saying? If you'll notice what is being done with gambling, place a $5 bet today and you get a $20 credit.
It's a way to hook you. It's a way to hook you.
Drug dealers do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And what are they tapping? They are tapping that fallen part of human nature. So while I do agree there's blame on both sides, the people that are behind this, and this is consistent with what I said at the beginning of this program, you need to understand if certain things are popular because it's something that is grassroots and all of a sudden it turned popular, or if there are people behind the scenes pushing the issue. And I believe when it comes to drug use, we have the same thing with marijuana. Medicinal and recreational. And now with gambling, you put down 5, we'll credit you 15.
I mean, you can't watch a sports event on television nowadays without being bombarded with sports gambling
And
commercials.
so are you telling me that the television people are not behind this also saying yes, yes, and yes? Pharmaceuticals, oh, the gambling industry, it's an industry, by the way. Sure, bring them in. So now you see that at the end of the day, like I have other quotes here and stats that I could give you. One person who specializes in this said the following: what the gambler doesn't understand, especially the people in the lower realm of economics in life, what they don't understand, listen to this, that this is a tax. They are taxing you. They are taking away your money for a little dopamine, because now the game is a bit more interesting. Careful with these things. You'll go and you'll buy the lotto. I have maybe we can do another program on this.
Sure.
All kinds of stats on how many people are now putting money down on the lotto because there's a possibility that, I'll make it big and then I'm done with all my issues.
But the amount of money that even people that win the lotto, they go broke. The stats say that even those people, they go broke within 2 years.
Even in the best of cases, when they give you better odds, you typically have to spend 50 to make 4.
Come on, to your point, what is the saying amongst Las Vegas casinos? The house always wins. The house always wins.
Friends, think about that. You have to spend $50 in those little $2 tickets with the hopes of making 4. That's what you usually get after betting $50. And that is giving you the best odds possible.
Yes.
Imagine the big one.
Exactly.
You'll never get it, but somebody got it, but you didn't get it.
Yeah. Listen to this, folks. This is an interesting clip.
Can he get in on this thing?
Well,
It's super unfortunate. You know, one, because we look at players that are involved and the people that are involved. You know, we're surprised because when you have access and you're at the top of your game, so to speak, as a coaching profession, a player, or whatever, you're at the top of your game, you have access to millions and millions of dollars in this league. So it was surprising that they would put themselves in that position, possibly.
I'm not surprised.
It is an innocent until proven guilty. I think the other
But you
part,
see, again, I hate, I'm going to bring this up again. Innocent until proven guilty. But with respect to Trump, we jump to conclusions. And you'll notice here the color of the skin plays an important role in their commentary because it's brothers at the end of the day. And we can't criticize the brothers, at the end of the day. That's what you know what I'm saying, Nick? All right. This is how it typically works. I know that offends people, but that is the reality. And I know many of you are thinking it. You're just afraid of expressing it because you don't want to be called racist or something. But that is the reality. That is what is at play here. There is something, well, many things wrong, as it were, with modern, current American black culture. And one of them is his enamorment with the criminal enterprise. It is not an unknown thing that amongst many black circles, there is a glorification of the Italian mafia and a trying to recreate of that.
You mean to tell me, brother, you don't listen to gangster rap? Gangster rap?
All the gangster signs, right?
part is we have to realize gambling is an addiction.
Oh, boy.
So the addiction of it is what makes you
This made me laugh because Barkley is a notorious gambler. I'm talking about, and notice what Barkley, this shocked me, what Barkley himself is going to say.
logical decisions. So not because you make $9 million. There are people who are making, as the FBI director said, there's a man who lost $1.8 million. That means he has a lot of money, so he has an addiction to that.
About greed?
Those fish that they talk about that they were bringing in.
But it goes
So
back to what
gambling
I said earlier. And
Some people
we're not
just can never make
contradicting each
enough.
other.
It's just plain old greed.
We're not contradicting each other. We're saying that there's guilt, as it were, on both
Absolutely.
sides. But your
Absolutely.
point is still well taken because there are those whom say, wait a minute, how can we begin to hook those that have never tasted the forbidden fruit? I completely agree.
It's an addiction
Listen to
which
this.
can make you make illogical decisions.
Which, by the way, I know some of you are tired of me constantly interrupting. You know who does that, who did that, who continues to do that? The social media companies. Just as an example.
And some people that were hooked on this, and by that I mean reeled in, they just want to be with the stars.
That's right.
And so they put down their money because they want to be with the stars. Because some of the people that are named, they are brought in just so they can bring in gamblers.
Yep.
Some people just don't understand how far idolatry, human worship goes.
That's just the way it is.
Regardless of your ethnic background, regardless of your physical background, and regardless of your financial status. So let's understand that. And I disagree in terms of the NBA dropping the ball. This is an ongoing investigation. There's no way
What do
that
you mean
any
he
FBI
disagrees? There are reports coming out now that said that the NBA knew about this sort of situation and they decided to do nothing about it.
or police even would come to anyone and say, hey, this is what we're doing.
So
This
let me
is
ask you a
all-
question,
the
Gio. I'm sorry
surprise
to
element.
interrupt here. When we get all these people asking for the forgiveness of cheaters that played in the MLB home run years, are we not
the
talking about
steroid
the
era.
same thing?
The steroid era, basically. We're supposed to sweep it under the rug.
What's my point? That eventually we are like the people from the Siena study. We know this is going to harm others. We know it's going to damage the
Yep.
quality of the product.
Yep.
But nevertheless, let's just forgive and forget and we move on
Because we need our fix.
until you no longer have a product.
Exactly.
Because how can you intelligently, I'm going to use that word loosely, bet on a product that you know is fixed?
Exactly. That's
Have
what
you
I'm-
seen the images of how the glasses work? And you're holding your cards, and the person in front of you, either with contact lenses or glasses, he knows exactly what you're holding.
the tables? They actually had X-ray machinery so that when they flipped the cards down on their face, they could read.
And the
what they
machines
had.
have been rigged for the longest time, and the odds have been rigged for the longest time. How foolish are you if you decide, yeah, I'm going to put my money in
It's
this?
true.
always makes it happen. So they cannot overextend the information that they're receiving. And this is about individuals. And last, and I'll let you talk, Chuck. I will
I wish
say
you
this.
would,
I
because you're
will.
making me mad right here.
Well, I can make you mad, and you can make me mad. I just have my opinion. You're going to have yours. But I also think that because there are people who get speeding
By
tickets.
the way, Barkley's been hitting that Ozempic, hasn't he? Wait until you see his teeth, by the way. I think they took this off of an elephant tusk and made teeth out of it for him. It's pretty
I think it's
nasty.
an old grand piano.
Oh, got it. An old Steinberg, right?
Doesn't mean everyone in the league speeds.
Or
And
Steinway.
so don't look at this group of people that's starting to get investigated as the entire league.
As an indictment of the league. Clear something up for
Oh,
me.
so it's not an indictment of the entire league, even though, as we've just said, even the NBA is involved.
You
in
have
all
to
of this.
protect the NBA because it's producing more and more black millionaires.
And to your point, there goes their jobs if you don't protect the NBA, right? This is to your point about commentators protecting certain interests.
I'm gonna clear it up quickly.
I know, but I really just want this. You say the league dropped the ball on the Rozier part of
Yes.
this because they had already looked at it and said we didn't have enough, but not on the Chauncey. They didn't drop the ball on
First
Chauncey
of all, these are two
Billups.
different things.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
two different things.
So the league dropped
this
the
is not
ball
Chauncey.
on Rozier. You
Take
say.
Chauncey out the equation.
All right.
And the reason I'm mad at Kenny is, man, this ain't got nothing to do with damn gambling addiction. This ain't got nothing to do with addiction. These dudes are stupid.
Why are they stupid?
You, under no circumstances can you fix basketball games. Under no circumstances. I love to gamble. The notion, like, Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much is he gonna benefit taking himself out the game to get unders? Like, he's making $26 million. The notion he gave, how much of these guys he gave a head up, he took himself out of games on prop bets. How much money is he gonna make?
Well, if he did that, you're proving my point.
What do you mean?
That means
that's
that
not
it's an
addiction. That's-
illogical
no,
thought process.
no.
If you're making $26 million to try to win 50,000, like that's illogical. So that you're proving my point.
No,
It is
that's
an
not addiction. That's stupidity.
The same reason
No.
someone goes and uses drugs when they're in the NBA.
Hey, drugs are addiction.
You have to protect the product. Remember the old issues with the referees in the NBA?
Tim Donaghy?
This has been going on for the longest time. Foolish are the people that put their money on the product thinking, oh, well, I'm going to put $100, $1,000 on the spread because that's where most of the gambling or most of the cheating takes place.
Yes.
On the spread.
On the spread.
They have to win by 4. The referee gets involved. He makes sure that this star player, that star player gets fouled out. They don't win by 4. Maybe they win, but not by 4.
Right.
Or maybe even they lose and they cover their bets. This has been going on in the NBA for the longest time. And once again, I pity the fool in the name of Mr. T, who takes his or her money and places it on a product that has been worked over and worked over and worked over to the point that your odds are not even remotely close to what you think they are.
This is a great way to end this edition because that is ultimately what drives this entire enterprise from both the consumer and those whom are providing this. So as believers, as we are, we continually advise other people, stay away from this. It's your hard-earned money and you're risking it on things that are already rigged to begin with. Why would you risk your money on these sorts of things when you know that there are operators like this? I know. Now it hits the news wires, and the people whom like their naivete would like to think, I didn't know that this was happening. This has been happening for the longest time. I'll end my part by saying this. I just finished reading a book not too long ago called The Last Manager. And in it, the author profiles the history of Earl Weaver, the ex-deceased manager of the Baltimore Orioles. Some people would say that the late 1970s, 1980s Baltimore Orioles were probably the best defensive team in professional baseball of all time, and he led them. Interestingly enough, this author says that the guy who actually created the system that we know now called the sabermetrics, which many people agree is destroying baseball as we know it, was Earl Weaver. Do you know where he got the system from? His uncle, Bud, as he called him, was a mafioso that was into sports betting. He was, as it were, a collector for gambling debts and whatnot. And Earl wanted the odds on everything. He said that that world influenced Earl to bring in advanced statistics into baseball so as to make it, as it were, much more competitive and give his team and himself an advantage in all of these things. So, folks, this is to your point earlier. This has been around much longer than most whom enjoy their naivete would like to think that this has been around.
And I will end by saying, for many, 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 many years, I've been reading stories, reports, and seeing documentaries on gambling on different types of sports. The juiced up dog, the juiced up thoroughbred.
Right.
In highlight, the ball just happened to drop out of the cesta. In basketball, in baseball, the Chicago Black Sox,
That's right.
and so on and so forth. So
The Astros, the cheating scandal, right?
if
Sign stealing.
if you care to multiply your money, look for better ways to do that. Yeah, but gambling is legal. Fine. We just gave you all kinds of reasons and pieces of evidence to show you that the game is rigged against you.
Prostitution is legal in Nevada.
Is that also a tax? Because it could tax your health.
Yes, it can, among other things.
So if you think this is fine, perfect. You're part of that Siena group that believes that at the end this harms people,
Yep.
but you want to go ahead and proceed with it anyway. At the end of the day, my friend, you have to say no to your flesh. Because if you don't, your flesh will destroy you.
Absolutely. Last but not least, before we sign off, please remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube, or you're watching us through Rumble. We also would like to remind you that we are streaming next on Wednesday at 8:30. Boy, I have to change. I did not change the ticker tape on this. So
$200.
my mistake.
Chauncey Billup will not do jail time.
I did not change. I did not update this. Let me go ahead and update this real quick. Our next stream will be on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Folks, what are we going to talk about? We'd like to give you
$300 that Michael Jordan has enough money to cover all the losses that he takes
That's right.
while gambling.
That's right. There's a clip that is making the rounds on social media where John Hagee, yes, none other than John Hagee. Some of you thought he was dead. I thought he was dead also.
The Pillsbury dad.
Although he does look dead, if you look at him in the, look at him intently enough, you're seeing that he is
I
probably
haven't seen a muffin I don't like.
He goes on to state that the Jewish people, just because of their ethnicity, God has made them superior even to Christians in America. We're going to have to take that up and we're going to have to comment on it. And that will be on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Do
He
not
gave him
forget.
better genes. Why would he give him better genes?
It's supposedly, because now I'm thinking that in the case of the Jews, just because of their DNA, God favors them, even though we've been told for years that God is not a respecter of persons.
Are those Levite genes, or did I get that wrong?
Folks,
From the tribe of Levite?
correct.
Levite genes. I'm going to get a letter
Levi
saying,
jeans.
you moron.
Maybe if we add the T and the E at the end. Do not forget to donate.
Levitical genes.
You can scan the QR code to donate and give us your patronage. It helps us to continue to put out this content for your edification. Otherwise, you can also click on the link in the description box beneath the video player. Be led to PayPal's website and donate. It helps us to continue to pump out this content for your edification. Please do that now.
Was Moses into gambling? What about that book of Numbers?
That's all the time we have left for this edition. Until the next occasion that we
200 on
gather.
the book of Numbers.
May the Lord shine his face upon you.